knowledge of Secretary Schmidt.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Klobuchar, Ranking Member Fisher, and members of Senate Rules and Administration. I've already submitted written testimony, so if I may, I just want to highlight a couple of quick issues that I'd like to bring extra attention to. My name is Al Schmidt. I'm Secretary of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Prior to that, I had run elections in Pennsylvania's largest county, in Philadelphia, for nearly 10 years. My experience in 2020 was unfortunately not unique, as we saw with election administrators throughout our country in big cities and rural counties, red and blue alike, were frequently on the receiving end of violent threats against them, or targeting their families or their coworkers, or any number of other efforts to sort of intimidate or coerce. Since I last testified before this committee 2 years ago, almost on the same topic, there have been a couple developments that I think are important. The passage of the Electoral Count Act reform.
Thank you for mentioning that. I forgot.
And it was something I was very happy to see, and I testified to support that 2 years ago. I think that is a big development to sort of close that window of opportunity for bad faith actors to undermine confidence in election results, and I think that's a very significant development. Other outside groups, nonpartisan, non-political groups, Committee for Safe and Secure Elections works to bring together election administrators with law enforcement. I know one lesson learned in 2020 is when a lot of this happened, we really didn't know what to do or who to go to, and neither did law enforcement. So building those bridges, it is an important thing. This organization called Issue One, which has a Faces of Democracy campaign, really intended to humanize election administrators. These are friends, these are family, these are your neighbors that are running elections, and I think it's important that they be viewed as such in this important public service. EOLDEN, which is a group put together to provide non-pro bono legal services to election administrators when they are harassed or coerced with malicious litigation seeming to try to destroy their livelihood. But the environment, unfortunately, despite these developments, remains the same, and it remains contentious. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we have now lost about 70 election directors or assistant election directors in our 67 counties. And in some counties, since 2020, they have changed election after election after election. And the consequences of that, I think, are sometimes on display. When you have people running elections who have less experience running elections, they're more likely to make errors, and make errors in an environment where everything is perceived as being intentional and malicious and seeking to change the outcome of the election, even though it's really a reflection of their lack of experience. And that is, in my opinion, probably the biggest, if not one of the biggest challenges faced in election administration right now, is the significant turnover of experienced officials. People leave for different reasons, one reason or another, but if they're able to retire, for example, and they don't want to put up with this anymore, they take advantage of that opportunity to retire. And we've certainly seen that in Pennsylvania. So it's one of those things that I think is contributing to, with so many questions out there and elections changing so much, contributing to efforts to undermine confidence in elections, despite them never being more safe and more secure than they are right now. Starting in 2020, moving forward, every county in Pennsylvania, every voter votes on a voting system with a voter-verifiable paper ballot that the voter reviews before casting their vote. Or they can now, since 2020, passed by a Republican House and a Republican Senate and signed by a Democratic governor, vote by mail if they choose. Also, obviously, a voter-verifiable paper ballot. All those ballots are used in not one but two audits after every election. So it's perverse to see so many questions about elections at a time when they've never been more safe and never been more secure. At the Department of State, we've been focused on building training a training program for new election directors, producing training materials for them, and really trying to be of service to them as they step into this important responsibility to run elections. I want to thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I applaud the steps that you've already taken, some of which I've mentioned, and I urge you to continue to work across party lines to find common ground on election reforms that will ensure the safety of local election officials who make our representative democracy possible.
Yes, and I note, thank you for bringing up the Electoral Count Act reform. We had that, I remember it was 14-1 vote on this committee, and both Senator Schumer and Senator McConnell, this is the only committee they serve on, and supported this bill, and it was a big moment for the committee, and I hope we have more of those in this area. So thank you.